Through this video, I'm using pen for demonstration purposes only. This is to ensure that you can see all lines in which I'm creating when marking out. Pen is not used when marking wood, as it stains the wood as the ink from the pen get absorbed from the fibres of the wood. I'm only using the pen for demonstration purposes only so that you can see it, and pencil is always used when marking out. Running the mortise gauge down the piece of material, we position a dot at the end of our marking point. Why do we create this dot? Create this dot to break the fibres of the piece by the pressure in which we press down on the spur into the piece of material. This point creates a finishing point in which the spur can fall into as we come to the end of our marking. It breaks the fibres by pushing the sharp edge into the wood and piercing them, compressing them into the wood. When running the spur down the piece, it is important to keep the spur facing up towards you and push down, providing pressure down the piece. This is very important as it pushes the fibres into the wood and creates a groove along the grain to highlight where you're marking. This happens due to the downward pressure and the forward motion in which you are pushing the spur down the piece of material, as shown in the diagram. When you try to pull the spur up towards you, it's very hard as the spur gets stuck in the piece of material, pulling the fibres up towards you. This is because you're putting downward pressure into the material and pulling the spur up towards you, rising the pieces of fibres out of the wood. This is very bad for the material as it really highlights it when you pull it out of the piece of material. Why do we use the stock of face side and face edge? As found with the tri-square, face side and face edge indicates the perfect datum edges which create 90 degrees to one another. This ensures when marking out that all lines are perfectly parallel as long as the two sides are perfect to 90 degrees to one another. Here I am creating a parallel line to the surface from face edge of 10 millimeters. I create a dot as previously talked about in the video, and putting pressure down on the piece, also previously talked about in the video. I am going to square the lines around, always using face side and face edge as my datum edges, in which I use my stock off of. This is very important to produce an accurate marking all the way around our piece. It is important to remember that I'm only using pen for demonstration purposes only, as the ink of the pen absorbs into the fibres of the wood and stains the wood also, and is very hard to remove when it comes to finishing. This is why we always use pencil when marking out. So just to highlight again, pen is just used for demonstration purposes only here. Remember always to create a dot at the bottom of your line and scribe down. This produces the line marking out perfectly parallel to the surface in which we used. Here now I'm marking 30 millimeters down parallel from our face edge. This is a distance from 30 millimeters from the face edge to our marked out line. Face edge is our datum edge in which we always take our measurements off of. It is important to turn the piece to provide enough movement for you to create accurate lines all the way around the piece, as shown in the video. Once again, ensure that you're using the stock of face side and face edge and remember to put in the dot at the bottom of our marking to pierce the fibres to ensure that you don't follow through with the spur down into the piece of material. Shown here are the squared lines all the way around of 10mm and 30mm. See how all the lines are perfectly parallel to one another. Here I'm going to demonstrate what happens when you don't use face side and face edge. As previously marked out, using face edge, the 10mm parallel line created with the marking gauge. As we want to make 10mm on the opposite side, it is not okay just to turn the piece over and use the stock off the non or face edge. As shown, the first line seems to be okay as you go parallel to the surface, but when it comes to making your mark across the end grain, you can see that it follows the surface and creates a parallel marking to the surface, which is not face side or face edge. As shown in the video, you can see that it stayed parallel to the surface, but is not parallel to the face side or face edge line in which we created already. When we turn around the piece, and once again keeping the 10mm on our marking gauge instead of changing it to 30, we can see the distance on how much our marking will be off by. This is due to the not using face side or face edge when marking out. This could be a serious problem for accuracy and precision when it comes further into our processing of a project. You can see that the line on the end grain was parallel to the surface instead of being parallel to the face edge or face side. Here we can see the two parallel lines which are correct as we use the face side and face edge as our datum edges. It is important to always use our face side or face edge to ensure accuracy and precision in the marking out process of a project.